All right. We have an official Klarma event. This is not just a normal Karma review. I am joined today by none other than Myth's third favorite healthcare professional, Dr. Clank. Clank, how you doing
Woo
today?
woo! I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing good. Other than the games we're about to review, life is good. I actually had some work today, so it's great. Things are looking up.
Yeah. Some people, we're about to review these films from the past weekend. Some people might refer to it as a little bit of a surprise, the match. Personally, I like to refer to it as a celestial realignment, a righting of wrongs, and everything feels good again. I think that the world's a better place.
Okay. Well, there we have the setup. I mean, I do think, as always, we start by kind of looking at the rosters of who's in game. I think it's fair to say that if you polled the Myth community overall, Team 4 would be the favorite. The weaker 2 or 3 players on Clank's team. So you've got Scratch, Paladise, and Funk. As a for instance, not known as strong players, not really competitive. Where on the team of Seekers, Homer is normally competitive, just didn't really play this Smith World Cup. Trejo obviously would be the one player you'd say, maybe shouldn't be in the game if this were super competitive, but it's a draft tournament, so all are welcome.
Yeah. I got to agree with you there. That we had a couple players too that were missing that I was a little worried about. We didn't have Gecko, definitely one of our stronger players, and definitely a great team player. And then Captain, he's always been good with fetch, and there were 2 fetch maps this week, and he's really good at kind of following orders and whatnot. So I was a little worried just from a personnel standpoint. I was also worried that if we lost the first game, especially if we lost it badly, I mean, we kind of, we're already a volatile team. I mean, it could turn into a full blown implosion and mutiny. So, anyways, that's just kind of the setup.
Yeah.
But
Well, and when I ranked the teams before the tournament, and I thought that they were by number ranked. So I thought Team 1 was the best, Team 2 was second, your team was third, and our team was fourth. Was my initial assessment. Ours obviously had a different point of view. So if Gecko and Captain were here, you'd have a really good roster. But I agree with those two missing. Advantage goes to Team Seeker. From a UT perspective, I mean, this is nothing groundbreaking for either team just in terms of trade. You've got Max Herons. It does look like you have a couple. Let's see. You've got how many archers did you get? You got 12. No, it looks like both teams get 12 archers. So pretty much mirror trades.
well, the big difference is in the number of thrall versus warriors. That was our biggest difference, and then also I don't think that they got any dwarfs. So
Yeah,
actually,
Pierce's
it's a
dwarf did have a really big impact on the game. So even though you only
well,
got
yeah,
one,
yeah, and we took 3 dwarfs. So that's because I was anticipating that we'd have to hold in some places, push in others. So that was kind of my line of thinking.
oh well, so shit tier analysis by me. I didn't even see 2 of the dwarfs. So it's a good thing we have a special guest here who's paying attention and knows what's going on. So a couple of different things here. Listening to both teams' voice chat and reading the in-game chat. I think our chat was more okay. Thierry, Karma, Limp, you're gonna go east, and that was it, right? And okay, the Warpack guys, you're gonna go west. Archer guys go mid. You were talking a lot more, for instance, about how your east flank is a jug flank, and they're gonna push. You also
Hmm.
send more percent eventually when Shadow rotates over. So I really liked that. One of my, this is a personal pet peeve, is strategies where there's not a clear flank where you say, we're going to win this fight, right? If it's, we're going to match
Hmm.
up evenly across all three, it tends to be a little bit more passive.
Yeah, exactly. And just from a personnel standpoint, I didn't think that we could really do line up and fight strats, at least for this particular week, because I thought that if I left it up to chance, that there were at least 2 or 3 weak spots where we would just get, kind of rolled each game. So, the whole concept was to, kind of make you seem like we're not quite as strong as I'm planning on us being in certain spots, and then once you guys, kind of commit a little bit, to really kind of try to push the initiative while the other side holds. So
Yeah, and interesting. So this is an interesting just disparity of decision, right? So both teams have some warriors that start mid. So you've got Shadow. He's got 9 warriors and a lock. We have Seeker, who's got 6 warriors and a lock, because our other warriors are split. So you make the decision to send your mid war pack to your stronger push flank. On our side, we make our decision to send the flex east, where we're going to have a pretty hard time pushing this, I think. So I thought that was an interesting. Were you thinking Shadow reinforcing the Herons would just be what it took to push that?
So the thing that I saw right off the bat that made me, within 30 seconds of the game starting, I tell Shadow to go over there. The whole concept of Shadow, he has the only warriors on our team. And he's basically, just in case you guys either juggered with herons or split herons, and could try to push west.
Yeah, he's
pretty
the
early.
Caterpillar Phalanx.
So yeah, exactly. So he's there to fill in the gaps if we start to get rushed. But the first thing, the two things that I saw right off the bat were that you guys had all your herons east as well, but more importantly than that, you also had more artillery and warriors over there. So I, immediately tell Shad to go east. In fact, I get a little testy with him because he's not going as fast as I want him to. And I was a little worried about it. And then not long after that, I tell Paladise, who has a lock and a dwarf, to go east as well. I'm not sure that he ever really influenced east that much, but, I really wanted us to push there and to be successful there. If we push there and we fail, that's one thing. Whatever, we lose the game. But I kind of made the decision to make that the crux of our strategy.
Yeah, and if we pause it right now, so Thierry shifts over to match LSO. They've got a mirrored force. LSO now has the lock, but he really doesn't want to push through the choke. You guys have more warriors, same number of herons. You've got, it looks like 4 pus. To
8 total. 8 total on the east. Each of the heron guys have 3, and Shad has 2.
Okay, so Paris is flanking a pus here, so that's the one I'm missing. Yeah, so I see that. So you have more pus, in just a higher percentage. Our east, I think the only pushable flank when Seeker rotates to you, west. So we've got, looks like 5 pus over here, and it's your lock, 2 pus, and some thrall. So if we dedicated, like, let's say 4 or even all 5 pus, on a push to you, we probably could kill your lock. Adrin can reinforce though, so like you're gonna that's a risky play. It's kind of hard to ask that. And then mid, we have more archers, but that's where we've got Trejo and Retless, and we're not making the call, and it would be difficult push. I mean, it's a big archer fight, but I don't know what we're able to do with that advantage. We don't even try though, which I think is a mistake on our part.
Yeah. Mid was basically all 4 or 5 players that were mid in total, encompassing both teams. Basically just kind of sat there and waited for stuff to happen on the flank before anything. And, some of that's me. I told our mid to get back off the island because they were initially pushing, because I saw that you guys had that Warpack west with a lock. And so beyond that, even Thierry could try to slip in through the peninsula and go mid too. So I thought that you guys were trying to lure us in a little bit mid, so I told them to back up and just see what happened.
Well, and I think 2 things to call out here. One, again, if Seeker had rotated west and Thierry has that lock here, Limp and I keep 2 locks far west, right? As opposed to what Limp is going to do and split a lock with Thierry, or even sending Retless's lock to Thierry to hold off LSO. Because that's what really forces the sort of, I would say it's like a domino effect. LSO's got a lock. He's pushing Thierry. So we've got to adjust to this. We choose despite having less melee west to send one lock over. Don't blame Limp for that. No one else was sending it. We weren't talking about it in chat. But us doing that opens the window, and you were very active in voice, yelling at Shadow and Paris to push. I think this was sort of the window where the game really changes over the next minute and a half.
Yeah, we're also coming up to the one questionable decision I definitely had this game, which is if you watch LSO mid here, he makes a good play on mid, and he kills some archers, and Tiri starts to move to match him, and I see this happening on the overhead. I don't really have time because I'm fighting Monty to really see exactly what's happening, but I see the dots, and I specifically, explicitly tell him, LSO, I do not want you to push mid. I do not want you to BC mid. That's not the concept. You need to go try to rejoin with the Far East, and you need to jugger that. My concern being that him pushing mid right there, no matter how successful he initially is, Tiri's going to match that, and then you're going to lure Seeker's Warpack that we're currently having just waste UT points. The Warpack could go support mid, and then we've kind of ruined our crushing flank there. At least that's kind of what I was concerned about. In hindsight, I don't know if I necessarily would have called him off. I might have told mid to push, and we could have kind of really broke that open there. But I think that the end results kind of justify what ends up happening.
I actually think that, but there's a world where both moves are right. So clearly, trading one Heron to kill 3 archers and waste a pus is definitely worth on your side, because that is going to enable mid is now much easier to push, because before we had like a 4 archer advantage. Now we have less. There's one less pus to worry about. And Tiri, if LSO goes west, like crosses here and goes farther west, Tiri matches him. Sorry, I'm upside down. So yes, God. So Tiri then matches him, right? Which helps Limp and I. What we do here, and again, not talking shit, it's just how this happened in game. Limp spares his lock to me, east. Then spares his lock to Tiri, because there was some miscommunication about whose color was what. But right, I don't know, in the next 5 seconds, we're now talking in voice about me sparing his lock back to him because we've shifted a lock. So this is right at the time that Shadow's rushing. So you can see right there. So if you pause it here, so we've got 3 pus and a lock threatening our lock, and we're trading it back and forth. I think this is probably my fault. What I should have told Limp is, yes, I'll give it back in a second after we don't die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that just kind of illustrates part of the benefit of rushing and being kind of aggressive, is that you kind of dictate the terms, and if the other team isn't already set up, say with elevation or more players or more units, you're really kind of putting the onus on them to not make a mistake.
Sure.
Well, so we're making you have to make decisions faster, and if one of those decisions happens to be wrong, then it could be a game-breaking play. So
yeah, being aggressive is definitely better. And as soon as we shifted a lock, we become. It's very difficult for us to hold with one lock against all of this mess. Now, I will say that what happens instead is I can't control 3 pus at once, and I auto a pus onto Paris's red goal, which is the real reason that our friend.
Look at the range on that, though. Look at the range on that pus explosion.
Yeah, I mean honestly, I'm pretty salty that froze that lock, to be honest.
Yeah.
But is what it is. So.
And then right around this time, things, I have a similar pus on Monty's lock that does not freeze him. So I blow his pus right there, by the way. But it just kind of goes to show you the fickle nature of myth. Okay. We need to make sure that we don't try to miss Adren's attempt at an all-star play later in the game. I don't know if you saw it on your first watch, but
I didn't. But I'm going much slower this time to make sure the audience doesn't think that I'm trying to just rush over, Clank's, team's dramatic victory. So we're taking it slow this time.
Well, I'll say that I thought that this was the best game of the match. Just so happened to be the first game.
Fosgarth was good. Fosgarth, we'll talk about Fosgarth. You've downplayed your strat. Fosgarth was a good game, but I'm gonna freeze it again because I think this is super important. You were very active in voice comms on telling people where to go win. Seeker took the public blame, was very vocal about this in his mind being his failure. I would, if I was gonna blame Seeker, I would only blame him for game one, because game one it would be fair to say that like players like Monty, me, Thierry, Lemp, Retless were thinking that okay, Seeker's gonna be the captain. He's gonna tell us where to go. He's gonna make in-game calls. It's not really Seeker's style. So after this game, any one of us could have volunteered to step up or just started talking more in game. But like again, this instant, if there's a very simple adjustment that the team could make that keeps Paris and Shad from being able to cross. So as soon as that lock dies, we need to be demanding Thierry send his lock to basically help us hold this. And mid-lock reinforces here. You've got Seeker that can then reinforce mid. If we make those adjustments, I'm not saying we win the game, but it's going to be much harder for you to get into the really dramatic winning position you do, because it's only a 4% lead right now.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the case. The other concern that I had if LSO had continued to try to fight middle was that Thierry could say, fuck this, break off, and go kill Paris and Shad with you guys. So that's I'm liking the call just a little bit more now that I see where LSO's positioned and how it kind of kept Thierry from blocking the river.
Yeah, and when Thierry leaves, so again, any one of these warrior forces, and in fact, like alternate universe, what would the quote unquote perfect captain play be? It might be to just say, fuck all of this West.
Oh, dude, here's the attempted puss, I think, on the lock shot.
No, not yet.
Maybe not. No,
we'll
it's coming soon though.
But like honestly, why do we have so you guys are now pressuring our flag, right? You have Shadow and Paris that have gotten in behind us. I think I actually did the math. Let me pull up my handy dandy notes. At this point, you've got 60% of your team is attacking our base, and we have 40%. So we have no chance here of easily rolling over this. So I think both Homer and Seeker and Monty could come running home. Adrin's Thrall and your Thrall would take longer to get there. So I think that was probably the right call.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a big Thrall fan, especially knowing where to put them. If you need something to hold.
Oh, there it
is.
It
bounces.
I agree. That would have been a great play.
It would have been amazing.
Well, Thrall are great, right? And it's not that you would have lost. Like, I don't think there's a world in which, at 6 minutes left, if we abandon all offense and just come back to hold the flag, at that point we're still best case playing for a tie. So your West flanks absolutely did their job because we're not able to get any sort of traction.
What I was worried about, and what I think you guys probably should have done, is you should have taken that Warpack that had a lock on the Peninsula West, and you probably should have just gutted our mid from behind.
Well, in both of these guys, right? If both of them go rush mid, this far west flank could slowly fall back, right? Because you and Madrid don't have rush units. But yeah, and look, no one on our team, again in our voice chat, no one right now is saying like, hey, fall back. I think like in another minute or so, somebody tells Seeker like, fuck it, just go for flag. But it's not as if there's people on our team that are not listening while somebody is saying what we should do. We're all just pretty quiet.
Yeah, I think we're about to have like a lock exchange far east, and then I think you guys start to work up the courage. We missed my awesome play on Monty's lock. It's okay. But then, Monty here, not to be critical, but, well, maybe a little bit, but he needs to do a little bit better against what I had with what he had. I end up making this a pretty good stalemate for our team
Yeah, it's a
right
great
there.
trade for you. Once he killed the lock, the thrall are pretty irrelevant. He shouldn't have been fighting those.
Yeah. And then Adren, this is the perfect position to put Adrenaline. Maybe I don't know. A lot of people know that, but he's really good with mixed units, and he can certainly slow down a rush. So he did a really good job of slowing down your forces there.
Well, and he and Paris, from just like a pure micro perspective, are two, obviously, right, along with like an LSO type, are two of the better. Good lock shot there by Thierry, but they're two of the better clickers for sure. So just pausing it again to do a recap. So again, Seeker and Homer are now pushing home. Your home, but we're much further away. I made a decision. I don't actually know if this is the right call. I made a decision earlier not to go up into base because I wanted to be a threat to flank as everything's pushing. But now that everything collapses, I'm pretty far away from helping.
Yeah. And not only that, but like you're not matched up on a Heron pack, really. You're matched up on a Shad pack.
Yeah, it does work out. So we were able to take out, Thierry and Paris trade locks. The pressure here distracts Shadow enough for Lim's lock to take him out. And again, another example of just us not talking, and also, I've been criticized, and for good reason. These days, my clicking skills aren't very good, so I can't look anywhere but on my screen. So I have no idea that we have a big force that's going to pretty easily take your flag. And I don't think that anyone on ours does. So we should be, ideal world, right? Someone should be saying, just contest, like stay alive, don't suicide. I'll tell you when you can run.
Yeah. Whoever's lock mid, that is, gets some pretty good lock shots off on here. And then this dwarf... Yeah, another good lock shot there.
This dwarf ends up with 12 kills or something.
Yeah. Well, Paris is really good with dwarves.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people know that either, but so the whole reason he had a dwarf is because he was the Heron pack that was designed to show early, and just in case you guys rushed him super quick, I wanted him to have something to at least slow it down with before LSO could get to him.
I'm wondering,
and so that's the whole reason why I had that.
Did we have a dud fuss home the whole time, or did somebody dud?
Oh shit! I don't even know. I didn't see that till just now.
Yeah. So let's. All right. So this is where I'm at. So you guys have a huge percent lead. Only hope here at this point is a flag trade and a tie. From about 2 seconds ago, when these warriors were contesting, it no longer matters that we contest this flag. So pausing it, we've got 6, 7, 8, 9 herons are alive. If we were to make the call, I still think it's super close, and if you're able to contest, it doesn't matter. But worth a shot. All of these herons should have run. Thierry actually in Myth World Cup did a really good job on Myopia of doing that. Instead, again, we're thinking we have to stay on the flag. Is what it is.
And this whole time I'm telling Adrenaline, stay alive, don't waste units because we're getting their flag. And then we see that illustrated with the huge percentage difference after this flag trade.
The trade of locks, that's good for you. So what I would have liked to see here is Homer's lock go the long way around, I think. Because he's not fighting uphill against archers, and then you guys have to go through a choke. Alternatively, if we're going to rush, now would be the time. I think we try to, but it just doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, I think he was trying to keep Adrenaline from supporting the flag. Again, you guys didn't really know what was going on at your home flag. You were kind of, focused on getting our flag.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking at it, if he runs all the way around, I think Adren and your dwarves can push up. So I'm not sure that actually would have worked. So Thierry did save a heron. I didn't notice that in the original play. So congrats, Thierry. You were more map aware than me, in this particular instance only.
Yeah, I mean with the flag defense or the ball defense that we ended up with on Fosgarok, I'm actually kind of surprised that we didn't leave nothing on your flag there, and Thierry just goes back and takes it. But
So this was a good thrall flank from you, by the way, as I accidentally hit automatic camera. So I was saying we should just rush this. Like, everyone commit, let's rush it. I still think that's probably our best chance. But your thrall are now in a position where we have to deal with them. So
yeah,
we end up losing a couple wars. Probably doesn't matter. Because your heroes are now here.
I mean, in this match, I mean, there's a couple games where Thrall have just starring roles. So, always glad to see that. Here, I should have just kept fighting with them. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking there was less time remaining.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, 2 seconds left. So, from just a how close the game was perspective, if the Herons dance on your home flag, if we save them, like I talked about, and just stall you for 2 seconds, then the game is a tie. No world where we win it, which is, that's a good strat by your end. Limp often talks about this. Your strat put you in a position where it was win or tie, and we ended up in a position where it was tie or lose, and your teams made the plays. Paris probably the MVP
but a good
this
first game. Well, I gave co-MVPs to Paris and LSO because I thought that they both did a good job of dictating play. They worked well together. They, really what you're going to see throughout the games, and what's kind of shocking to me and was a pleasant surprise, and it made my job really easy. But nobody on our team at any point in this match really makes a big mistake. Like, there's no myth blooper. There's no missed communication. There's no, somebody gets overwhelmed because nobody can help them type situation. And so it was really nice to see that.
Well, I think there's a benefit of the more, frankly, it's a more simple, and I mean that in a good way, strategy and plan. So, like, if I were to say out loud, like, how I would describe your play in this game, it was, we are going to jug east, hold mid, hold west. Right? And so then everyone on those flanks knows ahead of time, okay, I know not only what my units are, but I know, like, what my job in this game is. And then again, not everyone always listens, you're on voice the whole time saying, Shadow go east, everyone rush east, everyone rush, right? You're being very vocal, like, telling them, reinforcing what they're supposed to do. I think it puts everyone in a better position because they're not having to think, they can just click.
Yeah. And then before each game in our voice, you can see it on Paris' stream, but before each game, I not only, like, kind of told people what they were going to get, but I tried to describe, like, the overall concept to try to get people to buy in. And I don't know if I necessarily would have done that right off the bat if I wasn't kind of worried a little bit about the team chemistry to begin with, like I said earlier, like, if the first game goes bad, this could all just blow up in my face.
Sure.
So I wanted everybody to buy in before we even saw what the unit trade was. So, and they corrected me in parts, like, I initially on that map was going to do a goal pack west. And, when, 3 players who are all pretty decent say, I don't really see goal packs work too much on CTF here, then I kind of rethought it. So I added, I made sure to max out locks, so I'm not incapable of taking, constructive criticism. But, at the same time, I was a little hard-headed too. I said, this is the concept that I like, and we're going to make this work. The exact UT may trade, but
like, there's a saying, right, that's like a poor plan executed properly will beat a bad plan. So even not suggesting, other than the souls here, which we'll get to in a minute, any of your trades were bad, the buy-in and your ownership of what you were trying to accomplish. Like, if you do a strat by committee, as a for instance, and the captain doesn't love it, the captain doesn't have that, okay, this is how I want this strat to go. This is a really good example of this, actually, because in mid-game, your team is actively, like, trying to call off what you want to do, which I thought was fascinating. And you're like, no, motherfuckers, like, we're going to do this.
Yeah, I prefaced the Ferg strat with, like, telling them, like, hey, this is the one I'm most unsure about. So this could end up, being terrible and like an embarrassing loss.
Yeah, I mean,
But
let's talk
I
about
just
the
have
trades
I have,
for a second before we get into what happened. So we'll keep it a surprise for the viewers, because if you only look at these trades, you see you've got 7 artillery in addition to the three fetch, which are default. Side note: we should have played this on legendary. Like, I can't believe the Grimity let that fall through. Anyway, it wouldn't have affected the game. It's just more fun. And then you've got 7 souls. If you look at our trade,
one second, Karma. I can't see your screen right now. You might have to. Do I need to back out of it and then come back, or?
Oh, this is great. I'm gonna have to reshare. Okay, sweet. Go live. Good news is we're still in the PT. Looks like I just have to reshare each game after Myth closes.
Okay.
But you should be seeing my screen now.
Right now it says the stream has ended. Cricket noise. Dude, I can back out and rejoin if you want.
Weren't you watching in Discord?
I was watching in Discord on my phone. Yeah.
So I just reshared my screen. So maybe you have to back out. Viewers, I apologize for these technical difficulties. When we get a sponsorship,
there we go.
Yeah. So we're currently in negotiations with Alienware. I'm just kidding. If we get a sponsor, we'll get an editor, and then these things will be more smooth.
This game is brought to you by Garnish.
Yeah. So, look at this. Again, we went over your team's unit trade. Our team has 3 less artillery and no soulless. So that's something like, I don't know, 40 more UT points that are invested in melee units. So what this says to me, again, if you just had somebody look at this and say, what do both teams want to do? You're going to say Seeker's team wants to rush. Minimal arty, a fuck ton of melee, and that's just clearly going to be the strategy. Where on your side, again, just looking at the trade, it looks like you want to play it slower and BCS down. That's what I see.
Sure. The just a couple general concept things behind this. So a lot of your melee advantage though is tied up in, I've never been a big believer in mauls. I think that they're kind of overall shitty units when you factor in speed and whatnot. But the other thing is, it's all about appearances, and so by having soulless mid,
I know where you're going with this. We're gonna invest. We're gonna do a Mythbusters special edition on whether or not the souls matter.
Man, of course they matter. Like, just listening to your voice. I mean, and I'll wait until we get to the point. And but I'll go over what you guys said and what I think that it resulted in, and all that good stuff. So our general concept here is that we're going to keep all our fast melee hidden mid, and then we're going to show the mauls and the artillery south. And I think that makes your team think that we have like a huge south flank, which I think they even say in voice chat. And then Shad is going to go straight west across the river if he can, with a Mirk flank. So,
yeah. So at this point, neither team has seen anything. So I'm gonna wait until we see your trow. So so the trow see each other here. Okay. So I think all either team knows is that both trow are mid, right?
Yeah.
So we are sending, and it's interesting. I can't even bitch about this time, and this is the same mistake my team at MWC made on Hever Light. We send everything super far south through this hole in the wall. There's no advantage to doing that as opposed to running through this hole in the wall, because if Seeker and Monty are here, and you guys attempt to rush mid, if for instance. That's fine. If they go here and they can't cross, that's fine, because their job is just to eventually kind of surround you. Mm. But let's keep fast forwarding. So I also want to call out my most enraging part of this. We've got Zach and PK North. So from a percent standpoint, they have, what is that? They have 20% versus Shadow's 14%. So, okay, we see your Merc pack. We still haven't, we have not seen souls. We've seen nothing mid. We've seen nothing here. But we see this Merc pack. So all PK needs to do, and again, this is where any one of us could have been like, hey, PK, stop those mercs, for instance, is come over and
do not
hold
let
the
them
wall.
cross.
Yeah, because they have more units, right?
Yeah.
So our
And
south is
to be honest,
continuing.
I was surprised that Shad was able to cross there because I noticed all the red dots over there, and I was like, well, we'll see.
So right here, and I don't have 100% confidence that this is the vision, but around this time is when we see your Solus, roughly. But we've already allowed Zach to cross at that moment. These units are now trapped because you've got artillery here that can basically prevent us from recrossing. So even if Monty and Seeker want to reinforce mid, which they don't yet because they don't see it coming, they're having to run like all the way around, which is not going to be it's not going to be super useful.
So this is the point where so basically our flanks now see that you guys have a ton of percentage on the flanks.
Yep.
And so I was kind of betting a little bit on that with this strategy, but I see how many percentage points you guys have out on the flanks, and I know that this is our opportunity. We don't have time for the souls to, establish their deceptive whatever concept earlier. But I mean, in your voice chat, you can already, I think it's you that says it, but you say, oh man, they got souls, we can just kill this or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And,
I mean, the whole point of our trade, like in our pregame strat sessions, my point of view was that with this trade, if the enemy team gets Solus or heavy artillery, the game is over. And most old films, if you watch, end with a melee rush because it's really hard. It's just like any assassin game, people overestimate. Like if you remember, you used to play like TFFA Float Assassin, where you have the lock. You can't keep the lock alive. It's super hard, right? Like you just rush, and if people don't care if they die, it's pretty easy to kill the enemy unit. But look at this. We got 20% of our army east. We have 10% of our army super far west. And then Zach, and I will apologize to Zach in a future review, but Zach does the most inexplicable thing I can imagine. He, instead of running to merge with our force, he runs south and just lets Zach. So Shadow not only got to cross for free, Shadow now gets to rush our fetch for free.
Yeah, at this point I'm screaming at Shad, ignore their north, go get their fetch. I probably say it 30 times. It's probably super annoying. But I keep repeating it. And so now I think is when you swivel your camera, you see the Mirk pack on your stream, and you're like, oh, we might be in trouble. And that was kind of the whole concept.
Well, no one at any point on our team tells PK to come back. Like not one person even notices that he's up there. No one is telling.
PK's out there just like exploring.
Yeah, no one is telling Zach like, hey, don't let the mercs rush. I do think our Morts in general probably could have played better, and I could have asked for some melee to be more aggressive. But like with these, if you just look at these two armies, there's no world in which we survive this, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you guys would have to.
But I mean,
go ahead.
But you said it yourself that you guys barely got any artillery. So I mean, it'd be one thing if your fetch had time to set up and could have stopped us from just barreling into you. But you have basically two morts that are set up, and they get one shot off before these fast units are already on them.
We had 4 morts that all started mid, and had a chance to get into position. So in theory, 4 morts here should be able to do a lot of damage. I agree. We got off only a couple of shots, and then I think I could be blamed for some of this. Like, it was probably worth it for me to make Tiri give me the Zerks and Mauls and just force Adrin to fight me just to slow you guys down in the gap. Like, if I had to do this over again, that would be the one thing I would probably change. Other than, again, if Zach and... So imagine another world where... And Monty makes a good play. He does eventually realize what's happening. But if our melee is here and Zach and PK stop Zach or Shadow from crossing, I think it's much harder for you guys to pull this off.
Yeah, the whole rationale behind having locks mid right there pushing with is just in case you guys tried to send something through the wall. I wanted to have artillery that could blow up the people trying to go through that wall to help you right now. I don't know if we would have been able to pull that off. But then the other thing is, I mean, if you notice, I mean, your fetch like never get a shot off because they're constantly on their heels. Well, they get a couple off on the Mercs,
Yeah.
but our fetch are pushing with us, acting like actual units, not just assassin targets, because of the strategy, and it keeps your melee from committing and stopping the rush, etc.
Well, in theory, like, couldn't properly set up because we got morts and not locks, right? And so the morts are shooting right by his fetch. So if Tiri actually tries to shoot, like, he's gonna blow himself up. You could have, doesn't matter at all, but would have been good style points. You could have morted PK just to
or whited
that out.
whited. Yeah. Well, I had no vision because I didn't have his head wasn't out of the water.
Gotcha.
So. But.
All right, so now we've got, again, very even percent, but 20% for us is being held off pretty easily here, and another 10% is just not in position, and we've got a frozen drow. So I think, as soon as we let Shadow cross, PK continued north. The game, I think that was the moment where the game was basically.
So right here, that melee that's going through the wall. I talked about the concept earlier, but I was so tunneled on your fetch that I really didn't even notice that stuff came through the wall right there. The only hope that you might have had is if it went straight for our fetch.
But it's so late. So the problem is the melee coming through the wall a minute ago, right? To reinforce what's happening as Shadow's mercs are coming in helps us. At this point, it doesn't at all because you've got a trial health advantage. All of your artillery is alive. We only have one hit red fetch. So there's nothing Monty can do here. Even if it was Monty and Seeker, they're just too late to actually make a difference, in my opinion.
You know what's really good against a one-hit fetch?
Fucking any source of damage? Like what kind of
Soulless are incredible against a one-hit fetch.
I mean, it would be really funny if the Soulless had actually hit the fetch.
I mean, do you not think? I thought about calling everybody off except for the Soulless.
I mean, that would be funny. That would be the only justification for getting Soulless. But I did hear.
Let
me say on stream. Let me just say, the original Clank strat for this did not have Soulless. If you guys didn't have Soulless, you would have won even harder.
I did bring up the possibility of not doing souls. I specifically say, do we really need souls? And then Paris insists that we keep souls because they're good anti-drow. So that's why I gave him the souls.
Yep. Now another comment here. When you were saying to rush everything, we didn't say it in the game, but in the voice chat, I believe it's Paris. Is like actively saying, no, let's call it off. And then you have to like reiterate and say, no, we're committing. We're gonna do this.
Adrenaline specifically goes. He's like, wait, are we gonna rush uphill against all these morts?
Yes.
And I say, that's the strat, bro. Like, just go. like that's. We kind of just spent 10 minutes talking about it. Let's make it happen. He was just like completely shocked.
I mean, but I think again, like. If we say, given the unit trades, should the plan have worked? No. But given what you saw in game, like, yeah, it was going to work 100% of the time. The other cool thing about your strat, and so I criticize the Soulless, I do think it is, again, objectively bad for the rush. But worst case scenario, let's say that you only saw one Zerk scouting north and south. And we didn't overcommit on our flanks. Your trade puts you in a position to just hold mid and then try to play out a normal game where your artillery are fighting us. You don't have to rush. You make the choice after you see us. So I will give props there.
Yeah, the biggest concern there is if you guys started mid, you were unrushable essentially, and then you started to fan out and kind of close the noose around us. That would have been the biggest fear. But
which was the
plan.
Have a feeling. Which was the plan. we just skipped the, like stay together until we scout the enemy.
Yeah, and the other part of me, I thought that you might be expecting a delayed mid rush, just because. I mean, that was really my homage to Limp. There, I told him that after the match, I was like, I thought his his delayed mid rush on the light version of that map in Myth World Cup was pretty inspired, and so I basically just kind of co-opted that for that particular map and game type. So
Yeah, I mean it's just so different. And again, in general, with our trade and with 4 Morts being mid, I mean if we play the mid properly, I think before we let you cross, there's still a chance, even though we're in the dumbest position possible on the flanks, that if you can get enough good Mort shots off, that you're okay. If I'm like basically trading trial health for us getting good Mort shots off, but regardless, I think it's. And by the way, the stream is running, so you're gonna have to restart.
Oh, I rejoined.
Okay, good.
The only thing that may have given me pause is if we saw the fetch really early and they weren't mid. But at the same time, I probably still would have rushed because I'd be going for a percentage advantage, and I know that we'd be rushing with our fetch.
Well, I mean, as soon as like the I think the go no go for you, if Shadow doesn't get through, do you rush? Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough, because his whole purpose was to just be like a hyena and just go in, gash your side. Doesn't matter if he dies. Doesn't matter what he does, just to get the fetch.
Yeah, and I mean, we had the forces there. So if Zach and PK are kind of falling back, all of a sudden, all of us are able to face mid. I think that's the moment the game ended. I think is when Shadow got through the river, and then it was even worse when he got between our one melee player in the last one. But this is my favorite strat of yours of the match.
It was Limp's least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I'll talk about why later. So you take it away. Like, just talk me through what you're doing.
Well, when I tried to go over a plan for this, I looked at the balls, and I looked at the balls for about 5 seconds, and I knew what I had to do or what I wanted to make happen. And kind of the factors that made me arrive into that is the mid ball is the deciding ball. It's the one that really matters. It's the one that we should that's not a freebie that you actually have to fight the other team for. So that needs to be our number one priority. The other things that I had that I was thinking about is I have these 2 or 3 players who are great with mixed light units, like especially Adrenaline and especially LSO's archering. How do I put in emphasis on those abilities that they have? And so just kind of combining all those things, and then the fact that I might be able to hide some weaker players with a unique strategy, I kind of arrived at the fact that I wanted to basically make the game come to us and get that ball advantage, put it in the only spot in the map that's one way in, one way out, which is the corral behind each start. And whether or not we started northeast or whether we started southwest, this is what we were going to do. We were going to grab the ball advantage, and then we're just going to play keep away. And if you want the balls, if you want the game, if you want the match, you have to come take it from us. So, we were going to do the strat as well if we were north. North has a little bit more hills. South obviously has a more well-farmed fort. But I mean, there's positives and negatives to the walls as well, and it's not like the walls keep the archers from firing over them. So
yeah, I think northeast would have been there would be an extra degree of difficulty in some aspects. I mean, you'd need to kind of defend, if you see my screen, this elevated area, because any artillery that got up there would be tough. But I agree, it's still workable, and it turns into like a very micro-intensive battle where you're pushing into a defensive position.
I think everybody actually ended up enjoying it, except for Limp, because he didn't have units for very long. But
well, it is very frustrating. I would say this, like the difference between this and like the famous game. So Zell mentioned in the Twitch stream, the famous Tamerlane captures, right, with NP way back forever ago. Like in that aspect, and on that game when they got the balls up in the snowy elevated area, like that game is legitimately over. There's nothing anyone can do. Like, it's just over. In this
This
I
is
mean,
still
as we saw, it turned into a very close fight.
where before you start again. Let's just briefly go over some nuances. So when you start south, the south mid ball is in a cornfield. So I put Paris on that ball with a dwarf and a goal to get that out as quickly as possible because the cornfield can kind of mess you up and delay you. And then I have Jarral and Scratch each with one goal apiece because that's how important these balls are, grabbing our north balls. Beyond that, I think that there's a way that I could have made this strat perfect, and that would be to actually max the archers and get 2 or 3 less dwarfs. And I think that this strategy would be unbeatable if I had max archers, max pus, even more thrall than we ended up having. And then just one little nuance, LSO and I are kind of split goal packing just at the start to grab the mid ball. I have 2 quick pus that I grabbed really quick that went mid just behind the main goal pack to make sure that we secure this ball. And then the concept is that after we grab the ball, all those goals come back. I grab pus and I distribute them to the various players. But
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think I'm torn. I think the dwarves didn't do as much as they could have this game, but if you don't get any, then I think maybe it's like you tell your pus, okay, pus, you're literally like anti-pus, like don't you don't pus the enemy, and I guess I would also say if we had gotten dwarves, your strat would have been unbeatable.
Well, from the same standpoint though, the fact that you didn't get dwarfs makes me kick myself even more that I got 6 of them and I didn't max archers
right?
and get
like,
more thrall.
It's sort of it's sort of a trade-off, right? Like you're right, and that against our particular trade, I think less dwarves work or are better. But if we had gotten dwarves, which I think most people on this map typically trade for, I think your current trade is pretty good. And like having the dwarves hidden. There's a couple of dwarves that died in stupid ways, in my opinion. But having dwarves like hidden behind houses and walls makes it very difficult to push in. But either way,
ball captured.
Couple of mistakes mid. I mean, I think Limp should have just run and given this up. Again, granted, no one made that call. I could have pussed like right now. I think now Thierry says, and I think this is probably true. Just never puss a goal pack. Even if I pus now and we kill 100% of these goals, I'm not 100% sure it affects the overall outcome.
No, that actually would have been an incredible play because those are our pus goals in the near future. So we would have had to have like turned and burned the pus with like 4 goals.
Yeah, they spread, so I can't. You can see me cancel it there. So that was a good spread by LSO.
By me.
Well,
LSO has the goals that are running.
Oh shit! What's happening? Auto camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so very good pass by Mr. Clank.
I mean, you got to take the victories where you get them, man. It was a rough couple months.
This was very unfortunate for me. So you're super clumped. My pass, if it hits here, every one of these goals is frozen. But we got a bouncer. So
well, where did it? But didn't my dodge mean that it didn't hit any of my goals?
It just bounced off the hill. It didn't hit a goal. It bounced off the hill. So this is where, and I will apologize to Zach, kind of, but not really. So Zach team killed in the first game, or first map. He blew up like half of Monty's shit for no reason. In this game, I still think that this is a questionable decision. But he ends up like just shooting my archers for some time. But it was because he was targeting your goal. So I said before he was control clicking. He was still suiciding, but it was less intentional.
Yeah. Zach's a gentle soul. Don't worry about him.
So Gen-X is subbed in. I mean, minor criticism, and I know you're going to talk about this, but like Gen-X is supposed to redistribute because he has way too much. Does he just not? Like, what happens here?
So Gen X actually gives like all his stuff to LSO, and LSO just gives what he wants to give back to Gen X. The big problem is Shad.
Oh, okay. I see.
Fucking Shad never gives anything to Jaw or Scratch, and I feel so bad in hindsight because I'm moving this little mini goal pus pack left that I have left around, and I'm trying to support people, plug the gaps, like that fucking battle in the Lord of the Rings movies. And I'm trying to just like be Johnny on the spot, bring help where it's needed. And I didn't even see that those guys didn't have any units, and they never, to their credit, they never made a peep because there was so much happening that they didn't want to be a distraction.
I mean, Scratch and Jarral, like, he's a character, and yes, he spams forums and like all that bullshit. But in game, like, the guy is chill. Like, we gave him one.
He's eager to please.
Yeah,
too,
and we gave him one unit in every one of the World War II games, and he was fine, and he kept it alive, and he was just chill. Good pus by Thierry. Ends up only taking down one of Ellis's archers, but it does, do a pretty good job of getting the others damaged. Apparently, saying "Hey Thierry" sounds a lot to my watch like "Hey Siri." If anyone didn't know.
Well, what you're doing here too is you're firing over the wall at LSO, helping Thierry out while all this is happening. That was a little bit of a miscalculation on my part, not realizing how fickle these walls are as far as stopping people from.
I have two highlights in this game, only two. One is the archer shot over the wall that kills LSO. The fact that that's a highlight tells you how my game went. But okay, so just in general, there's a common theme here, and it's about end game adjustments. So your team was aggressive. You've got yourself a lead. Your lead for us is primarily Limp's dead goal pack, right? Mm-hmm. So right now we've got a couple of guys, myself included, with 4 or 5 archers. Limp has got 3%, and it's basically the dead goal pack. Limp is at least as good of an archer, maybe better, than the people with archers. So, A, we need to redistribute. B, the side of this to push, as we find out later, is pretty clearly west. Because there's 2 holes, they're close together. Sounds like I'm talking about a porno.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just laughing.
Yeah,
we do eventually get DP'd there.
Yes, but, exactly. It's a classic DP scene if I've ever seen one in my life. This is why we record these in advance. And also, so yes, my shooting over the wall was effective, but sending archers to Thierry is not a great idea. This is super pinched, and then we have way too many archers mid. So again, this could be anyone. It could be me. It could be Limp, PK. Somebody needs to understand. Okay, we just need to shift all of this. Over to this flank. We eventually do, but we've wasted a ton of time by the time they're
Yeah, I will say that one cool thing about this, at least in spectator mode, reviewing the film, you can see the whole battle. It's kind of cool. You see one team trying to hold the fort, you see the other one trying to take it. You don't often see myth battles that look like this. So I was a little bit pleased in the sense that I felt like we really provided a unique game.
So Drin gets fucked here with this pus. That could have been a 6 archer pus and ended the game.
Yeah. He had that pus behind the house, and then he surprised you with it.
Yes.
And I tried to push with him and help, but you had already spread.
Nice little small pus attempt. I like it.
I thought it was a big. Don't worry.
But yeah, so right now, again, we got 5 archers here. We got all our shit mid. Adren and LSO are your 2 strongest players. So a smarter player than me, or someone observing would say, hey, Shad has 23%. Not that Shad's a bad player. That's just a lot of percent, and he's covering again to cover the DP analogy, 2 holes.
And he's not splitting his units like he's supposed to.
Well, we've crossed that bridge. I now put that on you. You haven't noticed. It's been 3 minutes, so.
Yeah. But there's basically a lot of dancing for the next 3-4 minutes. I try to move my goals and try to make a play somewhere, but you guys do a really good job of never really providing a good pass opportunity, and you're not really trying to rush anywhere. If I was a smarter, more patient player, I would have just parked those goals in the back and waited until your inevitable rush.
Yeah, I think so too, because like it's super telegraphed if you're gonna pass, because you guys are so contained, right? Like you have, there's no possible way for you to flank anywhere with a pass, which pass are more effective when flanked. Another instance of a Dren. This was the hidden one. So another instance.
Oh my God.
Here. Look at this.
Look at that.
Now, to be fair, I do end up losing. I think both of these. I think I lose both archers. Actually. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
And then I puss your warriors here, thinking that there will be a flame shortly behind from these archers that are just staring at this pussed pack. And I finally, after 2 seconds, I'm like, can I get a flame? And it was a little bit too late, but I think that we could have killed several warriors there.
Yeah, and revisionist history here, other than me suiciding. An interesting play for us. So Tiri's over here with a bunch of warriors. If we'd been communicating and talking and we'd thought of the idea at the time, which hindsight's 2020, right? This is all like me talking shit at this point. But we could have moved some archers here to just distract the LSO. And then Tiri could have flanked around, like with warriors, and reinforced to where we have all warriors on one side. But you don't necessarily see them. So our archers are doing their dance bullshit, and then we move into a position for an eventual rush. I don't know if that works, but I think it's probably the highest probability play I can come up with just from watching the film.
Yeah, right around this point, I think I make the call that you guys are consolidating your archers and trying to use them to work in conjunction. I wasn't doing a good job of paying attention to your wars. I wasn't doing as good a job of keeping tabs on them, so that very well could have worked. And I do think that the way to fight this, as you eventually found out, is to jugger, that side with all your fast melee. But
yeah, and warriors are just so like, dude. If I were you, I'd be totally ignoring the warriors because you have dwarves alive. There's chokes and a bunch of artillery, and you have a shit ton of thrall. So like the warriors are like they're not a threat.
And we still have pus. We still have pus too.
Yeah.
So
more dancing, and by dancing, for me in particular, I mean dying. Tyrion now has a couple.
Well, you're arching against Adren and LSO, who are probably two of the best archers in the game.
Oh yeah, it's true. So Tyrion also squaring off. We've got an attempt at a push from Monty. So this eventually ends up being the right idea. Again, just indicative of some of our issues as a team. I don't think anyone knew he was doing this. So Monty and Reckless together, had a pretty good push. They killed a dwarf. But it wasn't like we were chatting, or at least that I remember from watching our voice. It's not like we were saying, hey, let's push this side.
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw that dwarf die right there, I kind of let out a heavy sigh because I knew that was going to kind of open the floodgates. And our only other dwarf on that side, I think at that point, is Ja Rule. So I'm starting to get a little worried right there. And Monty's making his fateful push, which we're going to see here shortly. There's going to be much hilarity to ensue.
So they actually back off, or start to. And then we shift a little bit over from mid. And this is the first point, which is, I'm going to make fun of myself and also our team. So I am the first one to start talking about pushing this southwestern flank, even though they've already been pushing and already been doing a good job. It finally occurs to me now that I have one archer left. So in our voice, I'm like, hey guys, you know what we should do? We should all push southwest. Which is true, but also would have been more beneficial sooner, or for Monty and Retless, those guys, they should just be more vocal and be like, guys, this is where we need to push.
Yeah, we've already kind of broken it open over here. And, from the standpoint of, I kind of like, at least when you're in a three-prong situation where things are relatively able to help each other quickly. You'd like to see a player like Tyrie's caliber kind of be more towards the middle. Not be out kind of by himself. He'd be more able to impact the game. If his war pack's over there by the orchard rather than the cornfield. So.
Well, or just totally swap. So, like I said about moving his shit over to where you eventually want to push, like to me, even if you just trade his units and you say Retless Tiri trade, Retless can Archer Dance against LSO. Tiri can be part of the eventual push. So we fell all the way back, and then we decide we're going to do our push. Where's Drin? So Drin has a dwarf. Drin played pretty good all match. I would say this dwarf probably.
He should have sent that dwarf over there, right there. Yeah.
So it's still chilling. I feel like he could have reinforced sooner, which would have prevented Monty from almost winning the game. So very small criticism, and Adrian will not take it well. I can already hear the rebuttal, but I would say he probably could have helped him out.
I mean, if I had to put myself in his mind, he might have been trying to keep the dwarf close to Tyrie's side because he thought that was the stronger side. But it's right about now that LSO makes the poignant observation. Can you go ahead and zoom in on the little corral back there? Let's get a nice zoom in. So LSO makes the poignant observation that it's Halloween and we don't have any trick-or-treaters back there. So we have nothing on the balls because
we had a dud puss there.
Yeah,
that would have hit 4 of the warriors. That was.
I think that was
something.
That was mine too. But we noticed that we have nothing on it, and the closest player is Ja Toad. So at this point, I steal Ja dwarf, and I'm like, it's time to dance, motherfucker. and one of my favorite, I'll probably never forget what's about to happen, but just one of my favorite things to ever happen in Myth goes down in this game. So
this is another minor criticism. So this dwarf has been AFK this whole time, and PK and Zach are spending a lot of time back here. They eventually shoot some of your thrall as well. Like at this point, and again, this is all on us as a team. No one's making very vocal calls in the voice chat. But we need to be absolutely balls to the wall rushing. I think at this point already.
Yeah. It's now or never. You got to commit.
Right, and so we're shooting some thrall. Arguably, thrall don't need to be shot here. Good play by Mr. Clank himself. You've now got at least a goal in position to contest. And don't worry, I'll zoom in on the moment that we all know is coming.
Yeah. Oh my god, my heart races just thinking about it. But yeah. So this is kind of this scorched earth that you're seeing right here with blood everywhere in our little fort. This is what I wanted. So this is a beautiful sight, in my opinion.
And just looking at percentages, and this is why, again, I know some people didn't have a great time in the game. We're up 2%. It's a minute 44 left, and we're making a big push to your flag.
Well, you have just swung the percentages, by the way. Not even
the push
not even
west.
2 minutes ago, we were up by 12%.
The big push west through the double entry there. And look, Thierry makes a good point about the original wasted pass. If you replay this as in a scenario where we have one extra pass, that can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's almost time.
So I was just going to ring around the rosy that ball, but your warrior moved it, and then another one comes. LSO is doing stop it real quick and show where LSO, the rest of his units are. So during this whole thing, LSO continues to dance with his other units against Thierry, one of the best, the best player of all time. He continues to dance with his main force while he's trying to micro a goal around these balls to help me contest. I use a puss there, and pusses.
Do you even know what's about to happen?
Do I know what's about to happen?
So you,
in the sense of,
you puss this warrior, right? You're a fucking mile away from Floridas, right?
Yeah.
Do you see this?
Do I see the? Oh! I don't even remember that.
I have never seen this in 22 years of
That's awesome.
Myth. Like what? Like a small pus fragment bounces off and hits poor Florida man. I gotta credit Retless for that joke, by the way. Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
I mean, that's how COVID spreads. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the thing is.
Okay,
But the thing is,
that's really lucky.
I thought
you.
that I. Go ahead.
Sorry, Elso dudded. So Elso just repussed, but his pus would have killed you and probably frozen him. I think that dud actually helps you.
Yeah, but he makes sure to grab it again, and now we're down to one warrior right here. So all we have to do is just contest a little bit longer. Well, he turns around and just out of nowhere. And I scream, no!
So that dud did not have that. Yeah, that dud might have lost you the game because I think the warrior lives and both goals die.
That would have killed both goals. You would have grabbed the balls. Game over. I mean, and at this point, after we finally kill this warrior right here, the rest of the 45 seconds of just straight me I could not stop laughing. I was just nervous, relieved laughter. But that's Myth too, you know.
So you guys saved the pus. It was good pus on the Terry's Warriors.
Yeah. But I mean, at this point, I know the game's over because Adren's bringing his thrall back. You guys have essentially no way to contest at this point. So I'm just like, Ellis and I are just fucking giggling at this point. Like, we can't believe our luck.
And this is an argument too, given how close the percentages are, we waited just too long, right? Because freeze it here, and granted, of course, the game plays out differently depending on when we do what. But we kill that dwarf, and now with time, we win this most of the time. We've got 5 archers versus 4, and then you just have to kill the thrall. But we've waited to the point where there's now 10 seconds left. Doesn't matter. There's no chance for us to contest these.
And once I saw Adren line up like this, I'm like, well, I'm stupid. I should have had a thrall wall like that the entire time. Maybe even with a dwarf in the corral to just throw over him. But hindsight's 20/20.
It was smart, and it's one of the great ironies about Adren. Adren is one of the most clever and trickiest. Myth players in terms of the micro and these special things. If you would just argue less, you'd be thought of this Myth genius like Gecko or some of these other guys. But that's for another stream when we talk about that.
Yeah, I told the entire team before this game, I was like, just so you guys know, you're going to hate this strategy. And, none of them were particularly excited about it when I was explaining it. But then I think Adren was the first one after the game. He's like, he actually sounded pretty happy with it. He's like, this worked pretty well. I mean, you could tell that he kind of enjoyed the fact that he got to dance with archers for 12 straight minutes and micro. I mean, that's his dream scenario. So
yeah, and dude, any game that ends 14 to 12%, where one team is, a couple of seconds away from contesting a ball, it's just a good game of Myth, right? I enjoy any game that ends that closely.
Yeah, I was a little, worried about how it was kind of play over, especially with a few key folks. I knew that some people were not going to look at it very favorably, but at the same time, I didn't consider it to be unfair, like you were saying earlier, which I've never even seen that Tamerlane game where they did that, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, so at this point, I just got the fateful text. I actually went about 30 minutes overtime, but I'm gonna have to kill the first half of this stream. So we're gonna divide this into part 1 and part 2. Clank, I will coordinate with you on Discord in terms of when we can finish this up. But I appreciate you taking the time, and we'll figure it out from there.
Hey, to be continued.
All right, sounds good. See you, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks.